Thanks for joining us today for streamlining your California court filing with InfoTrack. My name is Alex Braun. I am the marketing manager for InfoTrack. And today we're just going to go over a few key points about how to use the InfoTrack integration for court filing to speed up your court filing process, make it more accurate, and eliminate a lot of the work that you typically have to do with the court filing. So we'll give you a brief introduction to the InfoTrack product if you've never used it before. And then we're going to spend some time taking a look at California's court filing systems. California is a state that has a mix of both electronic court filing systems and traditional paper filing courts. And there are a few nuances that you'll need to know to place filings there. And it'll also really underscore the value of having a product like InfoTrack that can connect throughout the state. While today's webinar is recorded and we're not going to actually be able to do a live Q&A, please feel free to submit your questions throughout the webinar. We'll collect those at the end, and we'll also be displaying some contact information for you to be able to get in touch with us after the webinar is concluded. Now, I want to go over the three main reasons that people usually install the InfoTrack integration with Leap. The first is that it enables faster and more accurate court filing. And we're doing that by taking information that's stored in Leap and plugging it right into the court filing system so that you don't have to type in the same information you just typed into Leap. It's actually propagating that out of one software into the other and eliminating a step that way. You're also able to choose your documents right out of Leap, which we'll show you once we get to the demo portion. Another thing it's doing is tracking all of the expenses that you're incurring during the court filing process. So as you do your filing, all of your expenses are going to be tracked in Leap under the operating account tab. And the third benefit is that there are actually some automatic document management features built into the integration, such as being able to choose documents right out of your matter. What that means practically is that you don't have to store documents anywhere else. You don't have to have a separate file repository for everything that you're going to file. You simply throw it into Leap. We're going to actually automatically convert those documents to the court acceptable PDF format for you. And then when the documents are filed with the court, as soon as the clerk issues them, they're going to download right back to Leap. This is cutting out a lot of steps in the process where somebody would have to wait around and check to see if documents had come back. They'd have to go then download the documents, move them physically from place to place. All that is automatic now when you're using the InfoTrack integration. By cutting out a lot of manual work, we're really reducing the chances that we're going to make an error that could result in a missed deadline or a blown case. InfoTrack is available to all Leap users. It's very easy to access. You simply open up any matter, go to your Details and Correspondence tab, and you're going to see a button on the far right side that should say Searching and Services. And it does have the InfoTrack brand name below it. So you can go into any matter, just click this button, and it's going to launch InfoTrack. InfoTrack does not charge any kind of a subscription or a setup fee. And that's important because when we record all of the court filing costs later, the fact that this is a purely transactional pricing model means that you're going to be able to automatically catalog all the costs for court filing, including the court fees and InfoTrack's transactional fee. And you can pass that automatically directly to your client using an invoice or billing feature in Leap itself. So before we get too far into everything, I wanted to give you guys a brief overview of California's court filing systems, what makes them kind of challenging to file into traditionally if you're using a traditional e-filing service provider, and the advantage of using a product like InfoTrack that can connect throughout the state. So if you look at this map right here at the right, you can see that California has 58 superior courts in total. Their superior courts are equivalent to the trial courts in other states. 36 of these are still only accepting filing that's done on paper, the traditional way. They haven't yet implemented what we call a real robust electronic court filing system for their county. California has left the decision up to the individual counties to make, and that's why you have this sort of divide here. If you look at the green and the pink counties, these are counties that do accept some mix of paper and electronic filing. And in fact, the green counties accept electronic court filing for virtually every kind of filing. And then the pink ones have a little bit more of a mixed bag where there are limited case types where you can do electronic filing, but it is still possible for some of those. Some people will look at this map and say, hey, I'm already electronically filing in one of these blue counties. How is that possible? Well, there are providers like InfoTrack that will accomplish the actual physical court filing for you, and you can still file it online. So to you, the user, it will look like it is fully electronic, but that involves a bit more legwork, and it is something that you need a fulfillment operation in place to accomplish. So we'll get into that a little bit later. First of all, in the counties where electronic filing is possible, I just wanted to give you a brief overview of what that would really look like. The electronic court filing systems in California follow sort of a three-step model here. You, the user, are going to use what's called an e-filing service provider to connect to your court. And that'll just allow you to see any case types that are available for electronic filing in that court and what all the prices are, and it'll take you through that whole workflow for filing to the clerk's office. What most users don't see is that there actually is a middle layer to all this called an e-filing manager. Not super important to know about in your daily filing process, but the reason we bring this up is because it explains why California is a little bit fractured in terms of where you can only use certain e-filing service providers in certain areas. These e-filing service providers can connect, they're certified to connect to certain e-filing manager systems that the court has put in place for specific regions. So a county will be said to be using one kind of e-filing service manager or e-filing manager. You have to connect to that using your e-filing service provider, and that will allow you to pass information to the clerk's office. Here's a little bit of a visualization of what I'm talking about over these next 3 slides. eFile California is available in 18 superior courts. And for the eFile California system, you can either use, there is an e-filing service provider that is also called Odyssey. You can use that to connect. You can use, I believe, close to 50 different types of e-filing service providers that connect to this Odyssey eFile California system. And that is in many of the most populous courts in California. But the big one is still connected through a system that is different, which is called JTI. This is made by a company called Journal Technologies. Los Angeles Civil Limited and Unlimited are on the JTI system, which means you may need a different e-filing service provider that can connect to that JTI system. And then you have a few counties that are still on the much older technology called CCMS. This is built for the state starting, I think, back in the late 2000s, early 2010s. And you still have some pretty large, complex urban courts that are on the CCMS system, including San Diego, Orange County, and San Francisco Civil and Probate. So 3 different electronic court filing systems in California. Now, we're going to take a look at the difference between physical or paper filing versus what we just talked about, e-filing. Again, InfoTrack uses fulfillment teams to enable court filing in the locations where you can't e-file. So if you can go type your order in just the same as you would in an electronic court filing court, we're not actually connecting directly to that court. What we're doing is we're taking that order information, we're giving you the same sort of experience as you would have ordering in an e-filing court, and then we are transmitting that information to people that can then go execute that order for you, print out the documents, and actually hand deliver them to the proper court. So that is a little bit more of an involved process. It involves a few more costs in terms of making it come together. And it takes a little bit of time because somebody does have to print those out and take them to the court. To you, the experience is exactly the same. You're going to just be ordering things the same way you normally would. And there is one extra tiny dialogue that we'll show you once we get to the demo portion. Now let's talk about pricing. InfoTrack's pricing for all California courts that are on electronic court filing systems is very simple, flat rate of just $5. And the turnaround time for that is immediate. Once you enter the order in our system, it gets transmitted to the court almost instantaneously. The clerks can get to work on your filing pretty much right away. Now, in those blue counties that are paper filing counties, it does involve, again, the process of printing out the documents and ferrying them over to the court, physically, transporting them to courthouses that might not be in an immediate downtown area. So that does involve a few extra costs, and we charge a base price of $65 for that. Turnaround time, anywhere from 1 to 2 days. It depends on, I think a lot of courts will have an 11 a.m. filing deadline. If you get the order in before 11 a.m., it will be fulfilled the next day under standard pricing. And if it's after that, it could be the following day. If you do need a rush order on something, you can pay an extra surcharge for that. And depending on the time you get it in, is maybe something that we would be able to fulfill same day. You also may see a surcharge for filings that go over 15 pages. This includes all the documents too. We're not talking about individual document counts. So that would be all the documents associated with a filing would be included under a $65 base price. But then if your page count exceeds 15, you start getting tiered surcharges based on the amount of information that you're filing. And with that, I'm going to start jumping into a demo so we can actually show you how all of this works in practice. Okay, so to get started, we're going to open up a divorce case. Here we're already in our LEAP matter. To create a filing, you're going to navigate to the Details and Correspondence tab, which we're already on. And then you should see the Searching and Services button over here on the right. Click this button to open InfoTrack. The InfoTrack homepage is going to appear, and now you're going to want to select the state that you want to file in under the heading Courts. The first time you log in, you'll be prompted to enter your court system credentials. We already have that entered, so we're not going to see that. After logging in, your filing list will appear. This is your e-filing homepage where all your cases can be found. From the filing list, you have the option to file into an existing case or create a new one. We're going to create a new one. So to create a new case, I'm going to click the Create Case button. Notice that your matter number, the matter that we just had open in LEAP, is automatically appended to the filing. Now you just have to select the court you're filing into and the case type. Notice that all your case party details actually populate from LEAP right away. So you can see we have our petitioner, Jane Jones, in here, and also our respondent, Peter Green. If you wanted to edit this information, you do have the option to click the Edit button, or you can even delete it. But since this information looks correct to me, we're going to keep on going. Now you're going to select your filing type. Notice that as you start typing in here, it's going to narrow down the list of options that you have available to you. So this will help you get through those really long filing type lists. We're going to do a dissolution. Right here, if you wanted to enter a description of the filing, you could do so. There's also a space to enter a comment that you could add for the court. And then this third spot right here is for courtesy copies. This is where you can enter in an email address and even a list of email addresses separated by commas, and copies of your filing would be sent to anybody that you want to receive them. Now here we're going to choose that we're filing on behalf of Jane Jones. Now here's where we go ahead and select our documents. When I click the button, you're going to see a little window pop up with a LEAP logo on it and your matter name at the top left. This is going to show you only the documents that are stored within your LEAP matter. So this makes it really easy to just pick the right document. You don't have to worry about potentially a similar document for another case winding up in there. It's only going to be the documents stored in that matter. And it's also going to show you what format those documents are in. You'll see here, these were both uploaded as Word documents. But anything that we pick out of this matter is going to be automatically converted into the court acceptable PDF format. So we do that work for you. I'm going to go ahead and select Petition, Marriage, Domestic Partnership. Now, if I wanted to, I could also hit Local Documents here, to grab something off of my desktop or somewhere on my hard drive. I'm not going to do that this time. We're just going to choose it right from the matter, and we'll hit import. You'll see here this is processing, and now it says this file was converted to the court's preferred format. You also have this little blue icon that's going to be next to the document. That shows that it's ready to be previewed. And if you click on it, you can go look at the document, check and make sure that this is indeed the document that you wanted to upload. It's a nice way to kind of build in a last check before you go to file and make sure you're not making any mistakes. Now we'll close out of that. We've got our lead document queued in here. And now I'm going to try to add one more document. Here we want to add a summons. So I'm going to go down to add additional filing. It's going to give me another filing area where I can select a filing code. And I am going to select summons. Go and add that. This is also for Jane Jones. I'm going to pick my summons right out of there. Just like before, it's going to convert it automatically for you. And now we should be ready to move on to the next section. You'll see there are no optional services and fees. We don't have to worry about that. We've selected our filing party. Now we need to name the filing attorney. So we'll cue that in there, as well as any payment information that we want to use to make this filing. I'm going to choose the MasterCard. Now, before we submit it, we're going to do one last thing, click the Validate Fees button, and this is just going to check everything on the page to make sure that all the fees are totaled up properly. And what you're going to see is the filing fee of $435, that's imposed by the court, and then the $5 service provider fee, that's what's coming from InfoTrack. And that's all you're going to pay. Again, we don't have any recurring costs in terms of a subscription or a setup fee or anything like that. So every fee that we are paying here, whether it's to the court or to us, is going to be something that's going to be kept track of automatically on the operating account tab. And when we process this, you're going to see an entry for the $440. So let's go ahead and hit submit. And here you're going to see a summary of all the case details and the documents that you just filed. Here we have the petition and the summons, and their status is pending to the court. Now let's assume that a day has gone by and you've now received your documents from the court. As soon as the clerk issues the stamped documents back to you, they're going to download automatically to your matter. So you'll see if you open up your matter, we have these two original Word documents here down at the bottom. Those are the documents that we filed originally. We also have the summons here and the petition have both come back as complete. And if I open those up, double click here, it's going to show you a preview of that document that came back along with the file stamp in the top right corner that shows that this was accepted by the clerk. If you head over to the operating account tab and then navigate down to expense recoveries, you'll see that sum total for the first filing that we did, this California e-filing petition dissolution. It was $435 in court fees plus the $5 InfoTrack fee, and that is represented here as an expense recovery line item. You can see all the details here. You could edit this if you want to. But the important thing is that this is automatically tracked. Nobody has to remember to go and do this on your team. It's just going to be saved and done, and you don't have to worry about it. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you what happens if you were filing into a court in California that has physical filing. So the differences are pretty minor. We're just going to go through the same process here, go to Searching and Services, InfoTrack, and open up our list. Again, we'll choose eFile California. We'll see the filings that we already submitted in the last go for the other case. This time we're going to be filing in San Francisco's courts, and they are going to use physical filing. So I'll type in San Francisco, 400 McAllister Street. Confirm that right there. Then you're going to see one option at the end that's different, and it's going to say service level. And this is what we talked about earlier in the presentation, where if you need urgent service on a physical filing, for example, you want it to be same day, we have that extra fee of $75 to get a rush order on it. If you don't need that, you're just going to click standard, and that will make sure just the $65 standard physical filing fee applies. We're going to select our document type. And just like the last time, we have 2 documents in here all ready to go. I'm just going to go ahead and select those and hit import for the first one. That's attached. Now we're going to add a second document here, summons. Just as a reminder, we can preview these beforehand if we want to. And we can add a message to the clerk. If we're all ready to go, we're going to go ahead and hit validate fees. And now you're going to see the filing charge of $65 for this transaction. And then you're going to see one other fee here, which is our service provider fee of $5. So the total here is $70. Now you'll notice there's not a court filing fee displayed on this screen. That's because when you're physical filing, the court actually has to receive the documents before they charge you for the transaction. So at that point, when the court does communicate that fee back, you will eventually have to pay it, but it's not going to show up in your initial order. Now that we're ready, we're going to go ahead and hit submit. Both of these documents have been submitted to the court. In reality, they wouldn't be received this quickly, and we have our case submitted. All right, well, we've reached the end of the demo portion of today's webinar. I'm going to leave the question slide up just to remind you to get in any last questions you may not have had a chance to ask during the webinar. We will be collecting these responses today and getting back in touch with you as soon as possible. I also want to leave some extra information if you wanted to do additional research on any of the items that you saw today. We have a page at infotrack.com/California that details everything that's available in our California court filing offering. And we also encourage you to check out infotrack.com/LEAP. That's going to be our landing page that gives a broad overview of the LEAP integration, and you can download some materials such as product summaries to share with others. If you'd like to reach out to InfoTrack proactively, you can reach us at helpdesk@infotrack.com or at the number below, 844-340-3096. Once again, thank you for attending today's webinar. We really appreciate the chance to explore California court filing and the InfoTrack integration with you today. Please do enjoy the rest of your week, and we hope to see you again soon.